I've scanned my whole body several times. I could be 50 years gone, but people will still see a new Terry Crews project. Hopefully my pecs will pop in artificial intelligence.
Terry Crews has a story that every YouTuber needs to hear.
Please just run the camera, because I'm ready to give it up.
Terry Crews, everybody. Terry Crews.
Yeah! I love this song.
After getting cut by the NFL, he figured out how to turn creativity into a career.
It was a $100 million movie, and I had never acted before. I hadn't even done a school play.
He made ads on YouTube that were so good, they didn't feel like ads.
I remember we were on set, and I was doing this crazy stuff, and then my pecs started popping. They were like, wait, that's a whole nother spot.
And now he's using AI in ways that totally blew my mind.
And I didn't say a word. I couldn't speak.
Honestly, our conversation made me rethink everything I'm doing on YouTube today, and I think I'll do the same for you.
I want to be able to entertain from 12 minutes to 30 seconds to 2 hours. I'm not going to compete. I'm just going to create. This is so good, John.
I'm John Ushai, and welcome to another episode of Created.
You're very good at what you do.
Hey, thanks so much for coming on, man.
Oh, John, my pleasure, man. My pleasure.
I feel like you're one of the only human beings who could go from hosting America's Got Talent to starring in a Kendrick Lamar music video to the set of Sesame Street to then going to the gym and outlifting everyone there. But the chapter in your career that to me is most surprising, Terry, is you as an artist. So I wanted to ask, when was the first time that you really got paid for your art growing up?
You know, it's funny. That's a funny story. And it's one that was really sobering. I'll try to be succinct with it. I always had this vision of Hollywood, not in front of the camera, but behind the scenes. I saw myself as a creator. I actually saw myself, as a special effects artist. I used to make spaceships out of styrofoam. I would get out of boxes. I would sculpt monsters and creating stuff. And then I would paint things that were movie posters. Drew Struzan, the guy who drew all the Star Wars posters, was my hero. He was my example. I'm going to be a movie poster artist is what I wanted to do. And when I met my wife and we started dating, right before we got engaged, I said, what we're going to do, we are going to play in the NFL, and then we're going to move to LA, and we're going to make movies. So you got to understand, everything that I'm doing now, I actually spoke it. I had a real keen sense of how to write down a goal.
Wow.
Like you write it, you put it into the fabric of the universe, and then you kind of have to go into it. Because one thing is I was very careful. At first, I used to tell everybody my dream, and they would be like, I would get beat up. But what I did realize is that there were people that I trusted that I had to give this to so that I could do it. Because I knew if I said it, it kind of like, it was forcing me into this path. You know what I mean? So what happened though is that I got better. I got really good at my university, and the NFL became the thing. You know what I mean? So I knew once I said I wanted to go in the NFL, I trained hard. I started to shape myself into that, and I made it. I got drafted in the 11th round. You have to understand, they don't even have 11 rounds now, okay? It was like a glorified free agent, but I did not care. Coming from Flint, Michigan, it was like, man, there was no other way I was going to make it out. So I got into the NFL, and you have to understand too, I got cut. I got drafted by the LA Rams, and I hustled. Remember that same thing about giving your all, doing everything you can do. And I went in and I got cut. And I was hurt, but Jeff Fisher, who was the coach at the time, who was my defensive coordinator, he said, Terry, you worked so hard, we're going to bring you back on practice squad. And 2 weeks later, a linebacker got hurt. I was moved up to the active roster. I tripped and fell all the way to the NFL. And I was not dumb enough to quit. So you're talking about 6 teams in 7 years. I was bouncing all over the place, but I was like, to me, I said, I'd rather be poor going after my dream than, more just rich living a life that I don't want to live.
How did you choose the NFL as a stepping stone to Hollywood? Because I think there's a lot of different routes. I mean, we see other folks like now, people like Logan Paul are going to WWE, and it's almost like catapulting his level. of fame. But how did you choose the NFL as your stepping stone?
Well, you have to understand, everybody who plays in the NFL thinks a movie career is guaranteed after they're done playing. I mean, everybody, like, okay, I'm going to leave and I'm going to make movies. And it's like, no. I mean, how many people have actually been successful at that? You know, like Carl Weathers, maybe. But it's almost like people thought, it's guaranteed. So I thought the same thing. I literally was like, everyone's going to know who I am. I'm going to go to Hollywood and be able to do things. But the problem is when I moved to LA, nobody cared. You have to understand, too, as a football player and a marginal football player at that, you wear a helmet all the time. So nobody knew who I was. You're a number. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's really wild. There were very famous people that were in the NFL that no one knew what they looked like because they were always wearing a helmet and the whole thing. It's different with basketball or soccer or whatever. But the NFL at the time didn't really want you to be a very recognized person. So when I came out to Hollywood, I actually tried my hand at animation.
Really?
And my portfolio was in at Disney, at DreamWorks, at Hanna-Barbera.
Wow.
And I was getting pretty far. It was really good. Like my portfolio was building, and what you had to do was keep submitting your portfolio. And I had gotten really, really good because what was happening is as I got cut from every NFL team, I would humble myself and go back in the locker room and ask the players if they wanted their portraits painted. Because I knew that was a way to sustain myself. I said, instead of working at AMP, some grocery store, I would much rather get like $5,000 for a painting that would take me maybe 2 months to do, and it would allow me to feed my family. And players, they gave me money to paint them, and I would go in there like, I'm going to paint you over the city and I'm going to make you look all amazing. And I had all these great examples. And dude, they were like, man, I want that, man. I want, put me over the city, man. And it was like, it was kind of cool because I had a portfolio coming out of the NFL of players and athletes that I had painted over the years. I had done basketball players, football players, the whole thing. And so that helped me to get my animation portfolio together. But this was the thing. Toy Story came out. And the computer-generated animation killed hand-drawn animation. I was in line while they were they were interviewing artists for DreamWorks